what would you have preferred you have done if you had your time again for a developing dietitian, or I guess if you were talking to yourself 8 years ago, 9 years ago?
I look back at it now, and it's only made me more resilient. And that process, I wouldn't change it probably. But if I was going through it again and I really wanted to get into elite sport, I'd be volunteering and getting my name out there. And it doesn't matter whether it's VFL clubs, wherever it might be, getting your name, getting your foot in the door, doing the hard yards, and eventually a position will come up for you.
Yeah, what's a good strategy for dietitians to build up and educate?
Look, I think it depends. It depends on sort of what you're going into. When I started at Collingwood, their program was quite small in terms of nutrition, so I had, I suppose, a big ability to build on what was already there. I very much individualized it down to every athlete, rather than sort of blanket approach, which often, when you've got minimal time in a club or with athletes, is that you do take a blanket type approach, but very much individualized it down. And then, speaking one-on-one with your colleagues and working in with the medical team and working in with your physios and your strength and conditioning. And it's very much a collaborative approach.
Take us through sort of your strategy to make the most of your time when time is precious when working with elite athletes.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting, I suppose, when you are a dietitian working outside of a club or in a private practice, you'll sit down, you'll have an initial consultation with someone for an hour, and you may have a review follow-up. But in a club environment, as you would know, you have so many corridor chats. And so you don't really necessarily get to sit down with an athlete for that amount of time, because they're so busy off doing whatever else it might be. It could be edits or strength or massage and physio and anything else that they're possibly doing. So it's really hard to get that time with them. I definitely try and focus on those younger players. So as soon as they do come in, as soon as a player is drafted, we're generally meeting with them within the first few days to find out where they're at, what their nutrition knowledge is, what supplements they're taking, and how we can then sort of start that process. Where are they going to be living? How can we educate them about food and nutrition and cooking?
What would be your advice, 15 up until 18-year-olds, male and female, on that approach for maybe a coach or someone, or even themselves have identified that they're a lot lighter than where they feel like they need to be? How would you sit down with that player and discuss gaining muscle for a footballer?
So basically, first of all, to start off at what are they currently doing? What are they eating? How much are they getting in? Sort of getting an idea of what their training's looking like as well. So what's their expenditure? Trying to find the balance of what intake is versus expenditure. Looking at calories, we're looking at protein distribution across the day, and then a good balance of healthy fats as well. So it's not just your calories, it's also your protein distribution, making sure that you're getting the protein intake at the right time. So post-training session, getting something in, not skipping meals. That's often that I find with so many young athletes.
What type of snacks would be a good example to like you said, that if they're busy and they're moving from house sports to afternoon sport and that, so they're on the go, what would be sort of your ideal snacks to pack that are nutrient dense?
Muesli bars, Carmen's protein bars, nut bars, up and goes, anything like that to have in the bag. Snack like nut packs. There are so many options out there that you can get at the supermarket now. My advice for school age versus footy like AFL is probably a little bit different in terms of at AFL level. We've got to be really careful of the types of now functional foods that have protein added to them. We need to be very aware of that in terms of wider banned substances. But at school level, not as much. Just choosing really good quality products that are easily available in the supermarket. Things like Carmen's, really easy. Uncle Toby's. You can't really go wrong with brands like that.
Is it focusing on changing one thing at a time, maybe a week, or how do you sort of go about a young athlete making those changes? Obviously, because it's habits that they've been doing, like you mentioned, time and time again. So what's a good way from a mindset point of view to work on your nutrition?
Yeah, again, it depends on where we're starting. If we're starting with an athlete who has no idea how to cook because they've been living at home with their parents and they've been looking after that for them, and they move into state and they don't know what to do, we start looking at, okay, that change is going to be working on how can we better improve their ability to provide food for themselves, so cooking and supermarket shopping, that sort of thing. But otherwise, it could be something quite small. It could be, okay, this week let's work on portion sizes. So we know that you're not consuming enough grains on your plate. Let's try and increase that by half a serve at each meal. Small little realistic changes that we can make that are achievable for them. And ideally, you want the athlete to set that goal themselves so that they find that's achievable, rather than me telling them what to do, because I've made that mistake in the past and it sort of doesn't pay off.